The awakening. The city never slept. Skyscrapers stretched into the heavens, their glass facades reflecting the chaos below. Cars honked, people rushed, and the air buzzed with an unrelenting urgency. Amidst this storm of noise and motion stood Daniel Carter, a man drowning in the very world he had once sought to conquer. Daniel was a high-powered corporate lawyer, his days a blur of meetings, deadlines, and sleepless nights. Success had come at a price. His health was deteriorating, his relationships strained, and his mind a battlefield of anxiety and exhaustion. Every morning, he woke up with a knot in his stomach, dreading the day ahead. Every night, he collapsed into bed, his thoughts racing, unable to find peace. One evening, after yet another grueling day, Daniel found himself sitting in his car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. His breath came in short, ragged gasps. His vision blurred. He was having a panic attack, his third this month. Desperate, he pulled out his phone and searched for anything that might help. That's when he stumbled upon an article titled, "The Silent Revolution: How Mindfulness Can Change Your Life." Skeptical but out of options, Daniel decided to give it a try. The next morning, instead of reaching for his phone the moment he opened his eyes, he lay still. He focused on his breath. Inhale, exhale. The simple act felt foreign, almost uncomfortable. His mind resisted, pulling him toward thoughts of emails, meetings, and deadlines. But he persisted. 5 minutes. That was all. At first, nothing changed. But then, something subtle shifted. The tightness in his chest eased. The noise in his mind quieted, if only for a moment. It was a small victory, but for Daniel, it was the first flicker of hope he had felt in years. Little did he know, this was only the beginning. The transformation. Weeks passed, and Daniel's 5-minute morning ritual became 10, then 20. He began reading books on mindfulness, attending guided meditation sessions, and even downloading an app to help him stay consistent. The more he practiced, the more he noticed the world around him, really noticed it. The taste of his morning coffee, rich and bitter. The warmth of sunlight on his skin as he walked to work. The way his colleagues' eyes lit up when she talked about her daughter. These were things he had overlooked for years, too consumed by the relentless pursuit of success. But mindfulness wasn't just about noticing the good. It was also about facing the bad. One evening, after a particularly brutal argument with his girlfriend, Sarah, Daniel found himself alone in their apartment. Fists clenched, heart pounding. Old habits screamed at him to bury the emotions, to distract himself with work or alcohol. But instead, he sat down and did something radical. He allowed himself to feel anger, guilt, fear. They surged through him like a storm. But this time, he didn't run. He observed them, acknowledged them, and slowly, they lost their grip. When Sarah returned, instead of another shouting match, they talked, really talked, for the first time in months. At work, Daniel's colleagues began to notice a change. He was calmer, more focused. Where he once snapped under pressure, he now paused. Where he once dominated conversations, he now listened. His clients trusted him more. His bosses praised his clarity. But the true test was yet to come. The storm. Just as Daniel began to think he had mastered mindfulness, life threw him a curveball. His firm's biggest client, a billionaire tech mogul, was accused of fraud. The case was a minefield of legal and ethical dilemmas, and Daniel was assigned to lead the defense. The pressure was crushing. The media hounded him. His inbox overflowed with urgent demands. Sleep became a distant memory. Old habits crept back in, skipping meals, working late, snapping at Sarah. One night, as he sat in his office, surrounded by stacks of legal documents, his vision blurred. His chest tightened. The panic was returning, but this time he recognized it. He closed his eyes and breathed. Inhale, exhale. The chaos didn't vanish, but it no longer controlled him. He realized mindfulness wasn't about eliminating stress. It was about navigating it with awareness. The case went to trial. The courtroom was tense, every word scrutinized. But Daniel remained steady. When the prosecution tried to rattle him, he stayed composed. When the judge demanded answers, he responded with clarity. And when the verdict was announced, asterisk, not guilty asterisk, he felt no triumph, only relief. After the trial, the mogul offered Daniel a promotion, a massive raise, a corner office. But for the first time in his life, Daniel hesitated. The return. Daniel sat on a quiet beach, the waves lapping at his feet. He had taken a week off, something he had never done before, to think. The offer was everything he had ever wanted, or at least everything he thought he had wanted. But mindfulness had shown him another way. Success didn't have to mean burnout. Happiness didn't have to be postponed until some distant future. It could be found here, now, in the present moment. He called Sarah. "I'm turning it down," he said. Silence. Then, a soft laugh. "I was hoping you'd say that." Daniel returned to the city, but he was no longer the same man. He negotiated a reduced workload, started teaching mindfulness workshops at his firm, and even convinced his bosses to implement meditation rooms. Slowly, the culture began to shift. People were happier, more productive. Years later, Daniel stood on a stage, addressing a crowd of corporate leaders. "Mindfulness isn't a magic cure," he said. "It's a choice. A choice to wake up, to pay attention, to live fully. And that power, the power to change your life, is already within you." The audience erupted in applause. But Daniel wasn't looking for praise. He was simply grateful for the journey, the lessons, and the peace he had found along the way. And as he stepped off the stage, he took a deep breath, smiled, and walked into the present moment, fully, completely alive. The end. Have you ever tried mindfulness? How has it changed your life? Share your stories in the comments below. I'd love to hear them.